All right, so welcome to Couples Talk. Tonight is going to be a little different. For one, I'm actually doing the introductions. This is going to be more of a storytelling. We've spoken to some persons, and they've really um, asked us to continue to share our story. And this is one of the key points I would say in our marriage, that we were able to take some life lessons and really make a significant change when we would say our marriage was really at a crossroad. And so we want to recap that. And you will see the title that we had for this evening as How War Room, the movie, actually saved our marriage. And as much as this is the title of this, I want to set a premise for this. War Room pointed us to the only one that could really save our marriage. And that's truly to the one that designed marriage in the first place, which is God, which is Jesus Christ, that really allowed us to recognize what we were really missing in our life. And in so being, we were able to put aside all the things that was keeping us from truly coming closer together. But the movie War Room really set this in motion. And for many of you, you may not have seen this movie before. And if it is that you're watching this and you've not seen the movie, we're going to take a brief moment and give you a quick summary of the movie. Sharlene is going to narrate it. But for those that haven't necessarily seen it, we really want to encourage you that you should look at it together as a couple as much as possible. But I definitely want. So I want to thank Kirby. Thank you for letting us know that our sound is working. Last week we went the full 10 minutes, and we were so happy. I think it's Jenny actually told us 10 minutes in, we're not hearing you. So thank you, Kirby, for confirming that you're hearing us. We were able to get our mic tested early on. So thank you again. All right. So I'm going to turn over to Sharlene. Sharlene is going to share her synopsis of this movie War Room, and then we're going to get into really how did this movie set the stage for saving our marriage.
Okay, so everyone, so this movie that you're watching is called War Room. Basically, the story is this particular couple was living the grand life. Great job, great house, everything. But they had a struggle. They weren't getting along. They had issues in their marriage. And they were always fighting. It was almost too much issues. The child felt the brunt of the issues. And the woman now in the marriage, she met this old lady who she had an encounter with that encouraged her that you're fighting the wrong way. That's the reason why there's no improvement in your marriage. And she advised and encouraged her to fight on her knees, prayer. She said she had a war room, a prayer room, and she encouraged her to try this method and see how it would. So the wife now took the same advice and decided to fight that particular way. And if you watch the movie, you'll understand that she decided to use what was best was God and prayer to save her marriage. And that particular method really made a change in their relationship. The husband, of course, encountered some negativity in his life because of the things he was engaging in. But what he learned at the end of the story is that even though he lost all the money and all the success and power that he had, he gained a better relationship with God, a better relationship with his wife, and a better relationship with his child.
All right. So I could not have asked for a better synopsis. You probably could have narrated the entire movie there. I mean, that was actually a really great synopsis of the movie. And for me, I want to set the background as to what was going on with me at that time. And there was so much connection in terms of what was going on in our life and what was taking place in this particular movie. And for me, I connected with the male actor in this movie on so much level. I mean, during that time in my life, the most important thing for me was work. I wanted to continue to rise, in the company. It was so important for me to gain. My marriage almost came second. God came second. It was really about my job. It was my ambition. It was recognition. I wanted to just continue to grow. So I worked all hours. I mean, it was I would say one of the most stressful point in my life. But at the same time, I still wanted more. I still wanted to continue. I felt the sense of importance and so on. And Charlotte and I would always be arguing. We were at our worst. I mean, during that time. But one of the things I remember getting into that new year, the year just started, Charlene stopped arguing. I wasn't sure what was going on. I know something was changing, um, but I had no idea what I was in for. But what I did recognize is that she got more quiet, but she did everything. She, as normal, she would cook, prepare, as normal, we functioned and so forth. But she was a bit more intentional. She would just wasn't arguing, and that was the backdrop on my point. What about you, Sean? What was going on with you that I wasn't quite understanding at that point in time?
As he mentioned, that period was an extremely stressful period. So many changes in his job, and I'm aware of the stress and the changes, but it was taking a toll on him, taking a toll on me. And all I keep hearing, you need to be a good wife. And I couldn't understand what was all this stress taking place and how do I solve it. And I thought, even if I'm better, these problems will go away and the stress will go down. But nothing will. It became so intense. I became overwhelmed and depressed because I couldn't understand what was going on and I couldn't figure it out. And then we had a church function and I saw this movie. And I must say, when I saw the movie, I cried because I connected in some way to the characters in the movie. And I'm like, Lord, are you speaking to me? And I heard the Holy Spirit say, you haven't been spending time with me, but you're trying to fight the devil. And I didn't think about it as a devil because I'm thinking I'm working on my marriage, but I failed to realize marriage is such an important entity, as a sanctuary, a covenant that God has created for, that I thought I need to fight this on my own. And the Lord was telling me, no, this is not your battle to fight. This is bigger than you. This is a spiritual battle. And I just followed the process, fight on my knees. So after watching the movie, I quietly went home and I apologized to God. I said, Lord, I am so sorry I did not trust you. I didn't turn to you for help. I'm trying to trust my own judgment. I'm trying to trust my own strength. And I took a particular hour every day when no one was around and I prayed and I wrote and I prayed. And I committed myself. I will say, I didn't ask the Lord when He was going to give me this answer to whatever the problem was. But I said, Lord, I'm going to commit 90 days to you in prayer and fast. And I spent 90 days without fear or fail, just praying and fasting every day for 90 days. I didn't know what the answer would be. I didn't know if He would answer me sooner. That wasn't even the thought of when He would answer me. But I realized I needed to commit to God because I have been neglecting Him. And going through that process, I realized that even though I wanted change in my marriage, I needed to change, that I needed to find peace with myself. I need to be a better person for Christ. I need to be a better follower for Him. And I can't love my husband or expect him to love me if I don't love Christ. And I took that opportunity to commit myself for 90 days. And I must say it was one of the most peaceful period I've experienced because I didn't realize talking to God could be so peaceful. I cried, I laughed, I spoke with Him every day, and without fear, I would switch off my phone and I would pray every day at that time. And God did answer my prayer. And sometimes we need to also be careful of what we want answers to it. Because sometimes He give you an answer, He asks, are you sure that's what you really want? So you have to be careful if you're willing to accept the answer. But for me, the commitment of doing that with God was a revelation to me because it reminded me of where I had fallen short. That I spent so much time trusting self and not trusting who God was to take me through this journey. And it also showed me that marriage is not just something you just get into do and think that you could solve all the problem. That when you're married, that is when the devil attacks. It gets worse. The attacks gets bigger and bigger and bigger every day. And you're thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I solve it? Why? Because you trying to solve this problem without allowing God to define who you are, to direct the process. And I must say, I've enjoyed that moment. I spend more time focusing on my relationship with God now, because I learned if I don't love God and I don't show Him that I value His love for me, that I can't have a better relationship with my husband. So for me, that is what the process went through, 90 days of prayer and fast. And I must say, I don't think everyone could do 90 days. They might say that's too long. It's up to you. But what I'm saying is that we take prayer for granted. Prayer is powerful. Prayer can change things. And you would be surprised of the miracle that can take place if you commit. It doesn't matter what your issue is. Your issue could be anything you can even imagine on this face of the earth. But if you're willing to commit your life and that moment to God and don't make Him an afterthought, you'll be surprised at the changes He can make in your life.
All right. So, I want to share one of my lesson coming out of this movie, because if I really knew Charlene was praying the way she was praying, I would have known I had no chance. Um, I think sometime after I was able to see some of the prayers and so forth, and I could look back at where my life was and what was going on there. And many of the things that she would have prayed for, I saw them starting to, God was starting to open up that, the life I was living wasn't the life that God wanted for me. And I almost 90 days into that period, everything fell apart. I mean, it came to the point where we were now face to face and we had to decide, are we going to want this, to work? Are we going to make the sacrifice that we both need to make, so that this can work? The work was no longer that I was trying to put above my marriage and above God. And it's now you and each other that have to figure this out. So one of the lessons I would say for me that I really want to share is this: never put work, recognition, and ambition before God or your marriage. God was there in the beginning, and God actually made and designed marriage. It is one of the two covenant that God made in the beginning. One is marriage, and one was a day of rest. It's the two things that God made and sanctified and said it was good. And for us to take that for granted and think that it's something that we could treat callously with, and think that we could put put our work ahead of that, put the sense of ambition or whatever it is for you. If you're going to put any of those things above your marriage and above God, you're going to have problems. And this movie really revealed that. And then Charlene's action really brought me to that point where I needed to figure out what is it that is really going to be important for me. And I learned that in the worst of ways, because I had to really start over. We have to start over from scratch and recognizing. But with that, we bonded. We got much closer to each other, and we started recognizing that what's really important is not necessarily the money and all the expensive things. It's really coming to a sense and a vulnerable position with each other, where you could actually share your worst of things and even the best of things with each other. I think unless you could get to a point where you could really be able to share your darkest demons with each other, it's going to be very difficult for you to really connect on that level, where you could recognize that this is not you fighting a battle and I fighting a battle. We're fighting a battle together. And most importantly, if you could fight that battle on your knees together, it makes it even better. Right? What about you, Sharlene? What's your lesson that you took away from this movie?
Stop fighting on my own. Too busy quarreling and fighting and thinking I have to fight him and fight everyone else because I need to save myself. And then I realized that I'm fighting a losing battle because I could never win that way. And I learned that no matter what happened, no matter what I'm going through, once I fight on my knees, crying out to God, that I don't know when He's going to answer. I don't know how soon He's going to answer, but I do know that He will answer. And I learned that lesson from that particular scenario, from the particular movie, because Many persons would watch a movie, but it wouldn't inspire them the same way it inspired me. But at that moment, God knew I needed an answer to something, so He spoke to me through the movie. And another thing that I learned or gained after that was, after that experience, I had to share what I learned with others, which I think what led us to this point of doing couples talk, that we have had our journey and we are growing every day. I mean, and now we're so in sync with each other. It's amazing. It's hard to believe that we were at a time where we didn't think we could make it, but now we with each other, and it's like I would make joke and say, "Yeah, I'm leaving you," and he'd say, "Where you leaving me? Because wherever you're going, I will be following you, so we'll be going together." So it's like a running joke, you know. It's like who leaving who? Nobody's leaving each other. The only way we're leaving each other is if we die, you know. And we're so comfortable with each other. It's like the devil will keep trying as he usually does, but keep fighting on your knees. I know for someone watching, you're thinking, I've given up, you know, what she's talking about fighting on my knees. You know, I'm fed up of this. She doesn't understand my struggle. But trust me, I understand the struggle. I understand what it's like, and I understand think that there's hope for me, and no one could understand what I'm going through. And you know, I'm too embarrassed to tell anyone about it, because trust me, going through a struggle in a marriage is embarrassing. And unfortunately, sometimes you do share the struggle with someone who is also married, and they would make fun of your struggles. They too may be going through struggles, but they make fun of your struggle and make you think as if you're worthless. I know persons have had those experiences. I've had those experiences. I've had older friends I went to, and I said, something is wrong. I'm not sure what's wrong, but what do you think I should do? And I remember one told me, you must be creating all your problems yourself. So what you complaining about? You're ungrateful. And I'm like, ungrateful for what? I don't even understand what I'm ungrateful about. But I just wanted support. And when you have those type of person, it makes you more insecure because you're not sure how do you actually get help. You know, because you're thinking that they should be able to help you because they're older, they're married. And one thing I've always took away from that experience, when things get better with me, I am going to help someone else because they need to know they have support. We have a society, a church system that don't offer the type of support we need, especially to married couples, that we feel alone and abandoned, and we don't know who to reach out to and who to talk to. And you may not trust every person you meet, but know that there are persons out there you can reach out to. You can ask God for divine intervention to highlight who are those persons you can reach out to, but you can. There's always someone there who will be willing to help you, and you always have God who can guide you in this process. So don't worry about thinking adultery. God could solve that. That's if you want it to be solved. But I know most persons don't when their marriage is fall apart. Financial crisis, God can solve that. Baby issues, God can solve that. You lost your home, God can solve that. Because in the movie, they lost their home. Well, they almost lost their home. He lost his job. He almost cheated. God could solve anything. So you have to decide what it is you want for yourself. And not that you have to blame yourself, but if you're not willing to make a change for yourself, even if you think you're the victim, trust me, no real change will actually take place.
All right. So one of the bonus tips we want to share with you is that both partners must want the change for a successful marriage. Prayer is power.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that prayer leads to is getting across to the other person and recognizing that we're in this together. That's the point that we really need to get to. And if both of you is not willing to commit to that change, it's going to be difficult. This happened for us. Most of the biggest change in our marriage took place in 2016. And when I look back, I was just going back through my Amazon order history. It's one of the years that I invested the most money in buying materials, buying books and things like that, that I thought I needed help to guide me through this. Sometimes I don't necessarily know. Sometimes you don't know the right words. You know, that's a point in time where after so much years in marriage, I'm making so much mistakes. And you would have asked me, you know, do you love me? And it was the first time I said, I can't really answer that question because I'm struggling with so much emotions and so much mistakes and so on. But I said I was willing to try, and let's figure this out together. And sometimes you got to be that honest with each other. It's not because you're afraid of, I'm going to say something to hurt the other person and so forth. The best thing you could do with each other at that point is to be honest with each other. If it is that, you're struggling with something, you're not necessarily sure where you are emotionally, talk to each other, get the help that you necessarily need. And for us, we started investing in books that will really help us to understand what we're missing. And we started reading them together, not just reading. No, we would take a chapter and read to each other and interchange, and and then talk about it. It was like cheap counseling for us. We weren't really like working. Both of us was kind of unemployed during that period of time. But we needed to solve. We couldn't afford to go pay for a counselor, but we needed help. So here are some books that really helped us, and this was all in 2016, and these really helped us. So one of the books that I would say was really instrumental was Love and Respect.
Yes, you should break that down.
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much from this. I didn't quite understand this. Number one, what this book really brought out for us is that how much, as a woman, and Sharlene desperately needed love, and she needed someone to show that I care for her and I care about her. And there's many times you respond to people in the what you may call the love language that you specifically want. So Charlene would be trying to reach out to me in a matter of sharing love, or maybe showing a sense of care and so. But what I really needed was respect. I really needed her to respect me as a man, respect me as someone, as a provider, someone that's going to be there and want to protect and so on. So there are times that I needed her to step back and allow me to be a man, and to show me that level of respect. And similar, she wanted me to show that I love her. And this book really set that tone for us. Then we bought this book, and we've shared this before, Sacred Marriage by Gary Thomas. This marriage book really sets the tone for where God is so interested in making us draw closer to him, and less about just being happy. And sometimes we're so focused on just being happy, and I want to, if I'm not happy today, the marriage is bad. No. God is in that marriage that is still working through you. Even in the worst of marriages, God is still trying to work on you to draw closer to him, to depend on him, even within the marriage. So when you were thinking, I need to run out of this marriage because things are not working, God sometimes needs you to be right there so that he could refine you to be a better person for yourself. And then from there, we would have bought like a devotional on secret marriage that we read every night together with each other. And this one was harsh. This was one that Charlene, was really, I don't know, this is how God uses wives to shape the souls of their husbands.
Tell them the truth. I flung away the book. I flung away the not threw it away now.
Because it really spoke some harsh words, and it's really, really recognizing to us that we got to look towards God. We got to draw closer to God, even when we are struggling with our emotions. And then two of these books really helped us to understand how to pray for each other, because there's times you don't know how to pray for each other. What are the things that you should be praying for your husband? And for me, what are the things I should be praying for my wife? Right. So these were just some books that really helped us. It really shaped where we were, and it helped us to understand more about each other that we wouldn't have thought to ask each other the questions. And there are times that books, the author asks some questions in an objective manner that allows you to answer the question for each other without seemingly judging each other, because if you come out and simply ask someone, are you treating me in a way that shows that you love me, or are you treating me in a way that you show that you respect me? Sometimes if you bring up that topic out of the blue, it creates an argument. It almost gets a defensive attitude because you already think the person is trying to judge you. What are you trying to tell me? Your brain start working. But if you're reading this book together, and the author is now bringing out a point that is real, and it's probably a weakness that you have. It's not Charlene telling me about the fact that I don't hug her enough, and she argues about that because I'm not that person that is going to be on the road and holding her hands. But the author brings out, do you hug your wife? Do you tell her that you love her? Then it's not she saying in a complaining manner, you don't tell me you love me. And you could have that conversation. Charlene could say, I really like that. I really love when you tell me you love me. It reassures me that everything is going to be okay. Or I really like when you allow me to make some decisions in the house, or what is it that we're going to do. Or I like the fact that you depend on me to guide our financial health and things like that. That now brings us even closer together, right? So I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, again, The War Room, we will highly recommend that you. I'm sure it's available on most of the streaming services, and I think it might even be available to watch on YouTube because of religious content. I'm sure I saw it available to actually watch live
I think
on YouTube.
Netflix has it. So.
Yeah. So as we said, our topics, our main lessons here, and I'll just share mine again as we wrap up. For me, is never put work, recognition, and ambition before God and your marriage. What about you, Sharlene?
Fight all of your battles on your knees. Pray without ceasing.
Yeah. And a bonus from each of us, both partners must want the change for a successful marriage. And some books that I said we really got that was useful to us. Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson. I can't pronounce that last name, Sharlene.
English.
All right. And Devotion for Sacred Marriage was another one that really helped us. Sacred Marriage by Gary Thomas as well. And Sacred Influence by Gary Thomas. Two others, which was from Stormy Emotion, The Power of a Praying Husband, and The Power of a Praying Wife. If there's some books that we could highly recommend and endorse for your marriage, it pays so much dividends for what we would have spent for those. I think we have gained way more in return. All right. So this is our story of how the movie War Room saved our marriage. Again, if you haven't liked our page, please remember to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell on YouTube. So when we post more content like this, you will be notified. You could also like our page Vivid Resolutions on Facebook. You could also visit vividresolutions.com. We post blogs, just helpful suggestions. I'm saying we, but this is like Charlene's page, and she does most of it. I just kind of tag along and just pretend like I'm valuable.
You're good tag along. You're good tag along.
All right. So I help her add some of the photos and make sure the website stays safe and relevant. So but she does all the writing and commenting. All right. So thank you again. We look forward to seeing you next week for Couples Talk. Hopefully the 8 o'clock time works for some persons, but if you didn't catch us on a live, you could always, of course, watch it again on YouTube or on the Facebook page.
Okay, so I hope you remember these valuable lessons. Don't think of your marriage as a failure. Just know that no matter how low you are, God can save any marriage. If you're lying on your back, you must look up. And the only thing you'll see, trust me, is God. So focus on that and things will get better. You can find success. So that's my last thought for you this evening. So good night and goodbye.